So, Rob, how you doing? It's a Tuesday.
Good. I realized my beard's a little longer from that picture there, right?
Where are you in that picture? I always want to know.
Lake Tahoe. It was like
Oh,
gorgeous. My first time being there. We went a few summers ago. It was it's a really pretty area. Yeah.
that's cool. Yeah, it looks like you're like in the ocean amongst the rocks and stuff.
Well, they have like a sandy beach on one side, so it's pretty popular. It's like just like you're at the beach in California. So pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, we got a couple minutes probably before we're going to let a few folks come in. Rob, I've got an icebreaker for you. If
Yeah.
you had your own talk show, who would be your first guest?
Oh, Elon Musk. I'm a fan.
All right. All right. That's a good one. That's a good that'll get some ratings, right? He always gets ratings. Jeez. It's like
They quote him on everything. It seems like, and every article's like, "Oh, Elon said this," and Elon's, yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah,
I really like that. That's a better answer. I think I'd have someone like Bill Hader or an SNL comedian. I'd have like Steve Martin, I think would be my first guest.
Okay.
Yeah. I got one more for you.
Okay.
What's a song that you love, but you should be embarrassed to admit?
I think it's that Molly Cyrus song. It's the one that's like, not Molly, whatever her name is.
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus song. Forget the name of it. It's like I always sing to it. But I was like, I'm like a 40-year-old singing to my. I don't know if I should be singing this, but I like it. You know.
Yeah. Is it that new one, the Flowers one?
No, it's an older one. Put your hands up, like.
I gotta go find it. I think my guilty pleasure is always that '80s Peter Cetera.
Oh yeah.
Like Next Time I Fall and Glory of Love and all that stuff. Stuff is so cheesy, but I just love the supermarket flair. You know, you can always go to Home Depot and hear songs like that. So, well, we've essentially killed time for a few minutes here to let people in. Thanks for joining us. Today we're here to talk about sentiment analysis, how foundational it is to customer support. I'm joined by Rob Hartwig, solutions architect here at SupportLogic. We're going to show you some slides, and then we're going to get into a demo. We're going to do a lot more demo this time than the last time we talked about sentiment analysis. But before we get started, we've got some business to take care of. Sprinkled through this presentation, we've got 4 GIFs, and they relate to a movie. And in the chat section, we want you to guess the movie. And if you guess the movie right, we're going to reach out to you behind the scenes and give you a gift card. So there's going to be 4 of these, and keep your eye out for them. And we can get started. So starting off, let's talk about support priorities, right? From talking to customers of ours, customers like Salesforce, customers like Red Hat, and our CX leaders, these are the priorities that they're telling us about, right? And I want to launch a poll right now and see where these priorities are landing for you as you're looking at these, whether it's doing auto scoring or whether it's getting into more self-service things. Like what are the things that you're really prioritizing this year for your team? If you're looking to do these things though, I think you're in the right place, because we're going to talk about something today that is really the foundation behind being able to do all of these things. I guess the question is, what really comes first? And before we answer that question, we've got our first GIF. So if anybody in the chat knows what this one is, we're going to be monitoring the chat for a guess of what this. There we go.
Wedding Singer.
Yep. Lisa's got it. Nice. That was fast. Yeah. Chans, you got a second. You'll have a second go for number 2. Good guesses. And so what comes first with all these things before you get into doing any of these things? The thing that really comes first is you've got to understand and act on everything going on in your customer support database, right? You've got to be able to understand your data. And that sounds like a big lift, but it's really not, because what we call this is sentiment analysis. That's being able to go deep on every customer interaction. And it's really the foundation behind what all of our customers are doing, what Salesforce and Gainsight, Red Hat, Informatica are doing. And so across human and virtual agents, sentiment analysis and understanding the hidden signals in your cases is the first step to being able to do all those other things. So I think before we go deeper, it's really important to define what sentiment analysis is. And it's reading those customer interactions across email, web, chat, voice, and applying support-specific labels to the important information that's coming out. So this isn't just a generic AI tool. These are applying labels that are specific to the support experience, which is huge, right? So that's what's happening here. And beyond that, what we do with these signals is that we're giving you 40 signals that are all very support specific. So this is a patented piece of what SupportLogic is doing in the customer sentiment analysis space. We've got these AI models that are trained on support data. And they're not just rules. They're not just keyword hunters. They're incorporating feedback so that the training data is being updated all the time, and the models are being updated. And we've got some patents around that too. So that's a really special part of this whole sentiment analysis piece. And what's cool too is that it's always improving. So in 2022, we improved model accuracy by 484% across all signals. And then in 2023, we put in some new architecture that made further increases. So precision increased by 46%, recall increased by 51%, which are amazing advancements on this. So this isn't something that we always flash up when we talk about these things, but I wanted it to be really clear of these are the signals that our customers are using. And Rob, I know that there's some very specific signals that folks really get a lot of feedback out of.
Yeah, so it's interesting because Salesforce is one of our biggest customers. They use it for all their support, and they recently just advanced to use it even more. So they were doing a smaller team and now a bigger one, but the way they got there was actually taking all these signals that we found because that's kind of our bread and butter, is finding this data right here in the customer's voice. And so they took all those out there, and the one they found was frustration. Frustration was always a pre-indicator of a low CSAT score. So, and they found this because they just did BI on all of our signals ourselves, and they found for their cases that was like always a way. So if they got in early and worked on that frustration before the case closed, then they would get a higher CSAT, right? So that was what they found on their own, and I've seen that be true. And generally, that's a good signal to pick up on.
I've heard that too. Confusion, frustration, a lot of these negative signals, there's a direct correlation to a future negative CSAT, right? Yeah. It's like you can take those and go directly into being able to kind of solve things before they bubble up. And that's where I want to get into with this next thing. But before I do, we've got another GIF. So I want to check the chat and see who's going to get this one. It's one of my favorite movies. Elisa got it again. A double winner. Well done.
When Harry Met Sally. All right.
Well done.
Cool.
Nice. Okay, so it's really this idea of sentiment analysis as a safety net, right? Oftentimes with customer problems or with a customer survey, you're going from green to red. You've got a happy customer. You've got customers that you think are in the green, and now they're in the red. You don't get that chance to take a customer from yellow back to green. You're typically going off a survey. You're going off what we call a reactive metric, where you've got a problem that you're now bringing back into the good zone. So how do you see these yellow stage problems? That's where you get to where you have to monitor every interaction, where you're able. That's where the whole needles in the haystack thing comes from, because you're monitoring the entire haystack, and then you're able to pick out those situations that are bubbling up, right? I know I'm using a lot of analogies right now, but it's that smoke before the fire. It's that yellow stage that can allow your team to jump in. Perhaps you can get an SME. You can escalate it to a different agent or a different support manager, or someone else on your team, and you can bring that thing back into green without going fully into the red state with a problem.
You think about it too, like right now, like a lot of the evaluation we have is generally based off QA, right? Like that's traditionally always after the case. It's like, how do we improve? How do we get better? And so it's kind of like the tools we have always been after the fact. Hey, how can, it's already done. The customer's already upset. Maybe they already left. Maybe they already churned. That's too late. Like the whole QA environment is kind of just behind the times. This is a new one. So how do we leverage AI? How do we get ahead of this? How do we get in early and de-escalate, right?
Absolutely. Sentiment analysis is that monitoring layer. And when you apply it to every type of interaction, now you're getting the depth because you're getting that AI applied to every single interaction. But when you apply it to all the different types, chat, email, voice, now you're getting that breadth, right? So you're getting both, which is really cool. Another analogy I like to talk about with this, and I put kind of an image referring back to all of those initiatives that we have, whether it's chatbots or predicting your CSAT or reducing escalations. Before you can do any of those things, you've got to establish a baseline, right? If you're in the market for a house, you may walk through the door and see a bad floor. You may see a stove that's out of code, but you don't start there. What you do is you get that complete home inspection, right? You see the whole picture. You figure out, do I need a new roof? Do I have a crack in the foundation? Sentiment analysis across your entire set of customer data, that's what gives you that baseline for figuring out where do you want to go next. One of our customers, Informatica, did that. They applied this technology, and then they were able to start doing a KCS program. And they were able to get more efficient than they even were before, and then start doing some of these initiatives. So that's what's great about this being a first step. What's cool about sentiment analysis, and we're about to get into the demo, is that it tracks across case and customer history. So right up now here on my screen, I've got the top right corner, I've got what this looks like for a case. So you can see how the sentiment of a case is being tracked through the case's lifetime. It's kind of decreasing a little bit because this customer is waiting. There's a little bit of urgency. You're seeing these indicators. And then in the bottom left corner, you're seeing how that sentiment is tracked across a customer. So this is a customer dashboard of what we call account health score. So this is case sentiment tracked over 30 days. This is how they're doing over that duration. You're seeing a customer view of their sentiment, which is powerful. And just to highlight a customer before we get into the demo, and Rob's going to really go deep with us.
GIF there.
Yeah. Oh, and we've got a GIF. We've got our third GIF.
GIF, whatever you call it. Yeah.
We'll see.
Who's the first to answer it?
Will Elisa go easy on the rest of the team? Oh, Luke's got it. West Side Story.
Nice.
But I like Gary's guess, and it's making me realize that I think Dirty Dancing did a direct reference to this. They must have, because it's almost a shot for shot kind of thing going on. So that's a really...
I didn't even know this one. So
yeah. I need to watch this, but I just watched the new West Side Story and I thought it was beautiful. I thought what Spielberg did with the color and the cinematography was unbelievable. I was really taken by it. So before we get into the demo, I want to just highlight this customer story with Gainsight. Gainsight's an example of someone who has installed this sentiment analysis on their case history, and they're seeing a huge reduction in time to resolution. Their managers are saving an hour per day per manager, and they're auto-assigning a bunch of their cases. So they're getting these efficiency pieces, and then they're able to start diving into other programs and stuff. So with that said, Rob, I'd love for you to take us through some things. Sentiment analysis is a fun thing to demo because it's throughout a whole bunch of the SupportLogic platform. And folks, if you'd like to see this bigger, you can expand the screen in the bottom corner of the viewing panel. So the viewing panel is that square that you see us in now, and there's a button in the corner that'll bring that up bigger. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Rob share.
Sure, great. It was interesting because we were talking beforehand, it's like about sentiment. Hey, let's just focus on sentiment. And it's like sentiment's everywhere. It's kind of like the core to everything we do. So I'll try to focus on that, but it really is like it's just a lot of things. Share my screen here. All right, so this is our console, and I know I've got a lot of existing customers, so you definitely know what this looks like. Just the main page there to kind of see the info there. So sentiment is kind of the first thing we do. Generally, what we're tapping into is you've got all this unstructured data. Like you basically have a warehouse full of comments from customers and customers talking. And so you don't have access to that. You're not tapping into that. So by tapping into it, taking this unstructured data, giving some structure to it, and we structure it in several ways by identifying all the different signals, right? So you've got escalation requests. I think it's huge when someone just says, "Hey, can you escalate this? Like, this is a big deal." I don't know, as a support engineer one time, sometimes I don't want to like get my manager involved. Like, no, I can handle this. Like you want to like, it's almost a pride thing. So having a manager be able to see, they actually ask for escalation. Let me jump on that, and maybe you decline it, maybe whatever. But that's really helpful there on that front. I see a lot of customers jumping on that. We've also got a way to move that to an actual active escalation. So when you find it here on this one, on the escalation request, you can drag it over to the other one. So we have that option there too. So it works pretty good just to get ahead of that. And then since there's like a lot, there's a handful of customers here, I think it's about a mix of like existing customers. If there's any favorite areas that you like to use as far as sentiment, maybe give me your favorite sentiment signals that you've like leaned on already in the chat. That'd be great if you want to do that. Appreciate that. But the one I mentioned before was frustration that Salesforce found. So on the negative side, we have these ones that we've found so far. We've actually got a lot more sentiment signals that'll pick up. And then, of course, the prediction of likely to escalate. So, and that has the sentiment built in there. So what's nice in these ones, of course, is to just kind of see how this case is doing. So sentiment itself, we identify frustration, critical issue, negativity, churn risk, identify all that, and quickly can click on it. You can also hit the highlights here to see when the negativity was real quick. This button is hard to see. As soon as I found it, I was like, oh man, this is great. Instead of scrolling, just hit the little highlights button and see it all in one little spot. So the other ways we basically make data out of sentiment is a sentiment score. So this is tracked over time, the time from the ticket. So it started at 70, and then it went down over here and real low and just tanked. These last few comments really tanked it. Now they can ebb and flow. So if the customer says, "Hey, you did a great job. I appreciate this. It's all good. I have this one little thing that's going to work on." That'll bump it up right away. So we read it actively to update that on that front. The other one is the attention score, which is more about urgency. So the sentiment score is more about how they feel. Are they frustrated? Are they sad? Are they upset? Are they happy? It's not, their time really isn't a factor in sentiment. Attention is all about time being the factor, right? So is it sense of urgency? Is there this is supposed to be done yesterday? This is due a month ago. Like anything that's related to time is what this one does. This one started off and then just spiked, and then it's really like now. I need this fixed yesterday, right? So those are the main two scores. Now those scores can be sorted by all over our site. And one of that brings me to the next area there too with sentiment is the alerts. So on the alerts, you can make all kinds of alerts that ping you in Slack or Teams when these trigger. So this is probably the best way to alert, because you don't need to be in our tool all day, right? Like you've got things to do. And so if you're in Slack or Teams, you can build this up for yourself or as a whole team. Like if your whole team can be alerted in a certain channel. Very popular for like if there's a product team that's involved and they don't need to be in this at all. Actually, they don't even have to be a user. You can just set this up for the product team and then ping the product manager for certain products, right? So if it's a feature request and it's also a certain product, right? Well, let's put the product manager in there. Hey, when it's feature request and this criteria is met, then let's make sure the product manager gets that feature request so they kind of see what the customer's saying. As you might know, in the support world, like you're focused on, hey, I want to fix this task, and there's things that are wrong they could be fixed for the product. You kind of just know, that, hey, I know that's an issue. I know that's an issue. You know these bugs. You know the downfalls of the bug, but product doesn't know that, right? Because you're just trying to just get your job done, which is solve this case. And so this is what customers are asking for, an improvement, or hey, this is missing. I wish it had this, that kind of thing. And you can see that a lot on that front, and brings the next area there. But before I go that, likely to escalate, of course, so you get triggered for that. Very popular one. Any sentiment attention, so you can just add really quickly like anything you want. So if I want to see anything negative, any profanity, lack of progress, frustration, it's that quick. I just click it on there, what have you, and be able to add it there. Another popular one is to on the message types is, kind of, it was outbound for, only inbound, right? But we also can, if you want, analyze any of this sentiment with what your agents are saying too. So it can be a good factor there.
Yeah, that's what's neat about sentiment, is that once your cases are analyzed and that they're tagged, there's a whole bunch you can do with it, right? Now you're able to notify anybody about a certain sentiment, about a certain customer. Now you're able to handle the needles in the haystack on a day-to-day basis. But something else that's really cool that I think Rob's about to get into is that you can take these signals and you can make strategic decisions. So now you can see which products are causing confusion, which products have feedback, which of your customers have negative sentiment. So you're able to make strategic decisions because now you're kind of taking your glob of data that you weren't able to get intelligence out of, and now you're able to act on it.
Yeah. So product one, you look at that one and you're like, okay, what kind of sentiment does product one have, right? So maybe you're the product manager, or maybe you're in charge of that product, right? So you can see, wow, we've got a lot of negative sentiment. Like 24% of the cases are negative, and half of them need attention. That's a high percentage. Might be something wrong there. Let's dig into it. And you can always dig into more detail. So we start high. Like you can look at all the cases, for this time period in the last 3 months, right? So you're looking pretty high level of all these tickets, right? And then you're able to find, okay, this product itself, because I filtered it here, has all these negative signals, escalation requests, like what's going on here, why is there so much urgency, which ones are critical issues, and all those things. So lots of good, and even churn risk. Like, man, this product's really hurting because there's a lot of churn risk detected, and you could identify that, and then just makes it actionable, right? It gives us, it's like most of the product feedback you get is more just like anecdotal, right? It's like someone doesn't like it. They really like it? Is it really that bad? Like, how bad is it? I don't know. Should we invest money into fixing that, or is it not that big a deal? Well, it is a big deal. Look at this. You can actually get like quantitative, like actionable items about where to spend your money in the product, right? Which could be a big thing. And also another thing too, as I find this, is as a support manager or what have you, it's like, I don't know, I think on the product side, they hear some of what you're saying and you're identifying ways they can make it better. But sometimes they don't hear as well, but they hear better from the customer, right? If the customer said, this is horrible or this needs help, then it means a lot more because it's a paying customer saying, right? So you can just have all of these churn risks sent to, if the product is this and it has a churn risk or negativity, so you can send the product team. So anyway, that whole balance between, like, is it the product's problem or is it the support problem, right? Because there's always that thing where you're like, man, we already get so many tickets. It's because the product has these weaknesses. There's a percent of your support tickets that are based on that, but quantifying that and then convincing them that they can, use that and fix things and make service cheaper, right? And less tickets is a great way to go. Anyway, I went pretty far into that part.
Absolutely.
I think it's valuable. Yeah.
Rob, I was looking at our poll results and the winner was prioritization and routing. I'd love for you to show us case routing real quick and how sentiment is involved in case routing, and what a great model that we have here for doing that. And then I'd also love to see a little bit of backlog, because I think what's great about our backlog view is that it's really helping customers prioritize cases, reduce time to resolution. And a lot of that is because it's sorting cases by sentiment, right? Yeah. By sentiment score, by needs attention score.
Yeah, sure. So one way we route cases is with our automatic case assignment and manual. We can do manual or automatic. But one of the main features in here is the customer sentiment for that customer and link to that agent, right? So the default's 20. So I don't know if I have any good demos on this one, but basically if a customer agent's been assigned this before and they generally, like Wendy and the customers don't have a good mix and they're usually negative tickets, then there'll be that sentiment actually, and all these scores. So basically, all these scores here play a factor on that customer level of Wendy's not a good match. And if Dylan is, man, he's a rock star. They love Dylan, and he does a great job. He knows our environment, and because he's in their environment more, he probably is quicker to solve things. He knows where things are at, how to what environments they might be involved in, and so that's a big factor in making things happen faster because you're getting the right agent, right? In the sentiment piece, you get that applied. So that's the biggest one, really, is that customer area where it shows example of where maybe Abigail, is she good for this customer or not? Like this one, Abigail actually had some negativity on one of her cases. So it doesn't look as good. It's not a huge difference, right? But it plays a factor, especially if you have engineers that work with a lot of customers consistently. You'll see more of that in that area. So that's how sentiment plays in that piece. Lots of other stuff, of course, in case assignment in general. The other part of it that's backlog you mentioned was huge. So on the backlog, you can create all kinds of lists, basically. Generally, this is for, hey, I got a big backlog. How can I bang these out? What order should I work them in to get things done? And so this one has the most agents. This one has the most comments. But on the sentiment side, you've got the sentiment score and the attention score. And you can rank it by that. So this is the customer that's just screaming about how bad this is, right? So this is a great way to just know which cases to jump on. Generally, support managers, you don't want them reading all the cases and getting involved. They can just go, wow, these guys need help. Let me jump in. Let me click on this one, see what's going on, and maybe I send it to a SME or I send it to tier 2 or tier 3 and get it solved and done. And maybe this is a tier 1 agent that's floundering, right, for a while, not figuring it out, and they're getting frustrated, right? So you can just quickly let's find somebody else for this, find a better match. Wendy's a better match by a lot. She's 44 versus 73, and you can move that along. So all these things add up, right? So sentiment's everywhere. It's a part of everything we're doing here in SupportLogic to help managers and support team dig into those areas. So this one's real low. Why is it so low? Let me take a look at this. I got some churn risk back here. It's urgency a long time ago. So just demanding help. Maybe you do escalate this one because man, it's just been, this customer's been waiting for a while for this to happen, right? So those are the areas in here that you can really use sentiment in almost all these. You can create these and filter them and all those things, of course, too, for product. But the other area of sentiment that's pretty big that our customers use a lot of is the likely to escalate. So as we're getting this data, one of the factors, not all of them, but one of the factors for escalation is is their sentiment on here. So here's all the insights. This one actually had no negative signals in there. So that one's not an example that would show us that. Let's see if this next one does have an example of that. This one's also no. So there's lots of factors in here to predict escalations. So this one has 2 negative signals, right? So it's 2 negative signals. So that's a factor in sentiment, and also some churn risk for the customer as a whole, and the customer's health, right? We're also analyzing this at customer level. So on this side of it here, you're seeing this is rough, right? So the fact that the customer as a whole, which is kind of a combined health score, right? And you can click on these to see back in time. Why was it so good then, right? And now why is it so horrible now, right? And so you can see what's popped up and what's a big deal. And so they're generally just, this is at risk because their sentiment score has just been diving as a whole, and they're not in a good place.
That's what's neat is throughout the product, the sentiment level is kind of used as an indicator of where you should be, right? Those are your hot spots. If something's red, your eye will kind of go to them. If something's yellow, it's getting worse, right? That's kind of the engineering section is set up like that as well, where you can see all of your agents' queue and you can see the cases that they're working on by how dire they are. Yeah, we can look at Steph Curry here, and he's got one case in solution proposed where he's got that one, and then he's got the other one that's got some some yellow sentiment going on too. So it's a great way as a support manager to kind of take a look at your whole team and see, okay, where are the ones I need to jump into and check out really quickly without having to comb through every case and read every case or ask them. Yeah, it's a cool way to do that.
Yeah, this is really helpful in getting a whole team. So if you're like a director and you want to see the sentiment of like, okay, here's the North America agents, right? How do they stack up? What's their sentiment like? And you can quickly see it, like, okay, they've got a lot of red, they've got some grays, which are good, just neutral, right? But I also maybe on director level, and I want to see like what's the other team doing, right? So maybe it's the APAC team, or maybe it's different teams there. If I can filter just to show just the virtual teams only. So maybe there's like this team. So what's this team like that one? Well, this one has a lot more cases in the escalated status, right? So you can really dig in really quickly to see kind of how these teams are doing, what's on their plate, where's the activity at. So really helpful. This is probably one of my favorite pages for that sense. You can adjust these days too. So, as it's basically, these are the newer ones at the top, right? We've got older ones here, and then there's no date cases after 60 days in this case. But you can adjust these values too, that works really well to see all the differences there. So a quick way just to see the sentiment there. Also a good one for sentiment is this is trend analytics. So this is again where it's just good info. I'm zoomed in quite a bit because there's a lot of info on this page, but this is kind of one of my favorites too. You can figure out, okay, who's, the first again is the account. So Atlanta Falcons is the customer, right? And then you want to see for keywords, right? And you're looking keywords and sentiments. So normally for all of the keywords, you're averaging here. I'm like, man, why is there these two outliers though? Like most of them are down here. Why do we have this one? And it's just this insight. I had one customer tell me a while ago, it's like, Rob, this is great. Like, you know how long it takes to make these charts?
Yeah.
Like to do this chart, they can do it in a BI tool, and they have reports and a whole team that does that. Like it takes hours to build this. And this is ready to go. It's like out of the box. You can just quickly change it. Hey, I actually want to say the Kansas Chiefs because they're in the Super Bowl, right? And I want to see how they're performing. And I don't want keywords. I want, maybe I want product, right? So how's this customer, in the Linux products, how are they performing? What's their sentiment score? So just like kind of scattered here in this case. Lots of ways to slice and dice this data and really get what you want, ready to go out of the box. Like I don't have to do anything. These are already here. Even for new customers, we've already built it in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. You can filter this by component, right? So you can kind of see some product stuff going on. Category is another one. And then you can see, okay, well, across those categories, what's happening with the different components? How are customers feeling? Where's my outliers? There's this whole pivot thing that you're getting with this screen that's really cool. You're able to get into different versions of your support data. And it's all driven by sentiment. It's all because all of your data got combed, all of it got labeled and analyzed, and now there's a score on every one of your cases beyond the metadata, beyond, oh, it's urgent or it's been escalated. It's like now it's like going from black and white to color.
Like if you wanted to find, the cases that have the most conversations, right? And you can sort different ways, but this is like on a different level. You're sorting by the category and the component, and then you're finding the outliers. Like, man, why this one just on February? This one had like over 100 comments. Why was that? What's going on? What are we going to do to get somebody in here? Get a SME in here or a level 2 or level 3, just bang this out because this is in a bad spot. So lots of good ways to just slice and dice the data, really make it easy to find these outliers, and of course all the filters again too.
Absolutely, Rob. Thanks for the demo. Let's wrap things up. I've got another customer story. I know we've got one more GIF for folks to go after, and I'll share my screen and
great.
We'll see. Okay, so thanks for that great demo. And
no problem.
We've got our last GIF. Surprise. This was my daughter's favorite movie for her first couple of years.
I hear a song in my head. It goes, the hills are alive, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, Gary got it. Nice job. I love this movie so much. That's a great one. Awesome. Yeah, he got Sound of Music.
I watched that like 100 times when I was young. I don't know why.
I'd never seen it. until I had a daughter. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, my mom loved it, and we just played it all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy got it. Ah, sorry, Gary. Regina's in. She's our producer. She always keeps us on the rails. So sorry about that. That's a real. That's like a what's that? What happened a few years ago when the two movies when the Oscar went to La La Land and it was supposed to go to the other one? It feels like that moment right now. But anyway, moving on. Okay, so this is another case study that shows that Coveo is doing the same thing and that they're seeing amazing results. So what's great about this platform is that our customers are seeing the reduction in escalations and seeing the reduction in MTTR. There's real stats behind these. It's not just a logo and a promise and a quote. So thank you. Yeah. I feel like Steve Harvey right now. So Coveo is doing all these things, which is so cool. And in a few weeks, we're going to be talking with Informatica, and they're going to be telling us about everything that they're doing as well.
We have one question in the comments that I can address real quick. So they asked, can the sentiment do real time across multiple channels? For example, a customer who contacted via phone or email or chat. 100% yes. Those are all filters you can put in there. So you could see all the sentiment and then see the phone ones versus the chat ones.
Oh.
So it's all a matter of like, if you have that data point in your environment, we just bring it on in here and you can filter by it and see all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rob, that's why I love doing these presentations with you, because you are a solutions architect. You are implementing these customer instances. So you're right there in the technical details of, when someone wants email, chat, and phone, what does that look like in the back end and how does that get presented? So you're right. You can even filter by those things too.
I've even created some fun ones like who has the most JIRAs, right? So which case has the most JIRAs or which JIRA is the most popular, and you can, all kinds of filters we can do. If they're not too complex, we do that. So no problem. It's great to have that additional insight.
Absolutely. This to close, this is how we sort of slice the benefits of sentiment analysis, right? You're getting that customer experience benefit. You're getting the retention piece, not only from the customer retention, which anybody would promise, but you're also getting it from the agent retention piece, because now your support engineers aren't getting surprised. Not only are they getting these tools, but in a month or so, we're going to show some generative AI stuff. They're getting case summarization and next best action and all these AI capabilities that are really improving the support experience from the employee angle. And then you're getting all the operational efficiency. So you're routing cases better, like we saw with Gainsight. You're solving cases faster, like we saw with Coveo. And you're really, the whole point of all of this is to free up your team to install that KCS solution, to bring on that new chatbot. That's why sentiment analysis is the first step, is because now you've got full eyes on all your data, and now you can implement these other tools.
Yeah. One more question that Gary had for us here. So he asked, is there a Gainsight connector or is it an API connection? So when it comes to sentiment, that's huge, right? Because you want, Gainsight is all about the customer health, right? And making sure that the customer's happy as a whole. We do have a connector built in that connects to your Gainsight instance, and it sends all those signals, like all the sentiment that we gather can send it to Gainsight to be an event. So I want to answer that question. Yes, we definitely do. And that was a big ask, because the CSMs of all of our customers, they just wanted to have all that rich sentiment that they wouldn't normally get. And we also have a score that sends out. So the health score can also go out there too. So lots of good triggers there that could bring in an account manager or a CSM if they see certain things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like if you install something like a chatbot, you can't just install that and then have it exist, right? When you have something like sentiment analysis first, now when you install the chatbot, you're able to still pull in all that data. You're able to continue to see every single request, whether you deflected it or not. So you've got the cases that are still coming into your team, you're analyzing those, and you've got the ones you're deflecting, you're analyzing those. So you're really getting that unified observability across all cases. That's what's great about sentiment analysis. Thank you for joining us. Join us in mid-March. We're going to be doing a TSIA webinar with Customer Informatica. We're going to be talking about how they did a little bit of a combination of build versus buy. They started building their own stuff, and then they used us and our technology to kind of take their support operations further. So Rob,
I onboarded Informatica, and I'd say they're an awesome customer of ours. And what's interesting about it, I'll just give a little snippet. Their CSATs are already really high, and they got SupportLogic to go even higher. Like, hey, our CSATs are really great. We don't worry about that. We just want to be efficient. And so I don't know. I've read all their comments. The customers love them, and they're really quick, and they solve things really fast, and they just want a next level. So even if you think you're on top of it, they really found some huge value in that, and just really improving the process and getting it even better. So even it works for people that are really struggling with MTTR and what have you, and also people that aren't. Like, they just want to get that much better.
Yeah, great insight. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, folks, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see ya. Bye, guys.